Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your on camera facilitator. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I'm really excited to set up the month of May with everybody under our new month, new theme, new journal. So excited. And I want to give a huge shout out to my co facilitator who will be in the chat, Jennifer O. So you do have the former Team Texas here. We will always and forever be Team Texas, which I feel like, again, is its own vibe. But we are so glad that you are here. We are so glad that you are joining us to kick off a new month. Even though we do have a couple more days of April left. But once we get here, we'll be ready for May, and we'll be really excited to do some reflection, intentions, as well as set up some of those other trackers. So I'm already seeing some of our returning socialers in the chat. It always just puts a big smile on my face when I get to spend my weekend with my Sonder fam. So love seeing all of not only the same names that I see at a lot of our socials, but the ones that are also active in the app. But if you are new here, please let us know in the chat if this is your first time doing a monthly setup, if this is your first time at a social, but you've been a long time user. We love to hear all of that. We want to welcome all of our new folks because we hope that this will continue to be a part of those habits as you focus on your self-care. And as always, make sure you set the chat to everyone if you want to share with the larger Silk and Sonder family. If you just leave it to hosts and panelists, that will come to myself and Jennifer, and we will certainly be able to help as much as we can. But there are some other guidelines. Be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. As always, while Jennifer and I have some information, we do not have all the information. So we will most likely redirect your customer care inquiries to our team at headquarters, which is hello@silkandsonder.com. And as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, decisions, and actions. So we are glad that you're here. We are glad that you are here as you are, and we are so excited to move forward as we set up this month. And do not worry if you don't have your May journal yet. You can grab an extra paper, you can grab some Post-it notes, and just take some notes, take some screenshots. And especially if you're new, this certainly is a kind of a social kind of requires getting used to some cadence because not only will you have me, you will have the slides, you will have the chat, you will have some music. So it's certainly a little bit of a sensory overload. So just take a deep breath, work on what you want to work on, because sometimes you're just going to turn the chat off because you want to sit and work in your journal. Sometimes you just want to take notes and come back to the journal as kind of part of a self-care routine. Or if I am too much, you can mute me. The music's too much, mute it. We are just glad that you're here and that you're going to spend this amount of time focusing on you and your self-care journey. So a new month means a new theme. Whew, so this theme is trust. And I had a little bit of a hard time finding just kind of positive trust quotes. Stuff got real dark real quick. And while I do know there's like a very delicate balance between kind of trusting and trusting yourself, there is that very, very fine line that we're going to walk. But it kind of made me a little nervous because I do always try to kind of lean into some of the optimism. I try to find some of those pockets of momentum or confidence within those. So I was really a little sad at how dark the trust got. So I feel like I want to work on kind of obviously starting at the self-trust. And I know one of the songs that always gets stuck in my head as soon as I say trust is The Trust in Me, which was the snake from the Jungle Book. So I feel like that's kind of the vibes that I'm trying to avoid. But I feel like with those type of ones that kind of hit you in kind of almost a kind of visceral response, I feel like there's a way to explore and figure out kind of new perspectives on dealing with trust. Excuse me. So we've included the letter for trust that Neha always includes at the beginning of the journal. Highly recommend reading it because I feel like she kind of definitely hits it with that trust is a delicate dance. And that's being vulnerable, but showing strength. and that sometimes it's forgiving, sometimes it's accepting, sometimes it's walking away, sometimes it's giving another chance. So there's definitely a duality to trust. And so the first thing I kind of want to break down is, for me, working on that self-trust, the confidence. As we come from play, one of the big kind of concepts with play that I really embraced was the play on, which was the pick yourself up, dust yourself off. Things are going to keep going. So you just got to kind of figure out how you can get back into the game. So I feel like that is where trust kind of goes in there. But with everything, I just challenge you to kind of figure out a way you can relate to trust. Maybe that's finding a synonym. Maybe it's even adding either a phrase to it. So that's kind of with the self-trust, that you can kind of figure out a way that you can explore. How can we turn it into actionable items? And how can we dig a little bit deeper into trust and really find that delicate balance? Because I think it's always great when you kind of eagerly like walk on that tightrope, because I feel like you learn so much when you do that. So our agenda for today is we are going to do an opening activity. We're going to do our April reflections, which is an opportunity to look at the previous month. And then we'll set up our May intentions, and then we'll look at that mood tracker and the habit tracker. So for that opening activity, this is not written in your journal. So find a blank spot in your journal. That could be a blank note page. That could be, around the letter, somewhere where kind of a big space, because we are going to do that trust acrostic poem. So again, find a blank page, scratch pad, or your thoughts journal. And really, we're going to write some things that come to mind when you think of the word trust. You don't second guess yourself, just write it down. This can certainly be just kind of a brain dump. Try to come up with at least 5 words or phrases that describe what trust means to you using that acrostic structure. And so now see how you can maybe work it into a poem using the first letter of each line. You can do sentences, you can do one word, it can be sets of words. This is your opportunity to certainly get creative. But I also feel like it's a good just kind of introduction, as we're going to start that delicate dance. Maybe it's just little chatting. We've done our little bows and curtsies, we're doing the small talk before the songs really started. So we're just kind of going to figure out how we feel about trust. And so this is what your page is going to look like. You're going to have the TRUST down the left-hand side, and then we're going to fill in the kind of sentence and phrases. Here are a couple of really great examples. Don't worry, I will slide back and forth with these once I get the music going. But we've got some already generated ones, some really cute little kid ones. I think the clever one of totally relying upon myself today, using trust, but also a sentence. I love how some people's brains work that way. And because this is the first one, that means you get my acrostic poem. And English I enjoyed it. It wasn't my thing. Writing was not my thing. But I kind of dug into kind of the things that I'm trying to figure out as I navigate trust, kind of grounding myself in that self-trust. So a lot of these do come back to kind of my internal dialogue, my internal relationship with some of these things. So the first one was thankfully. There are things that come naturally to me. I want to lean into those, but don't get too comfortable. My dad always gave me advice of, he's like, you get too comfortable sometimes, don't do it. And that's more of like, try the harder things, find the modifications, rely on those relationships that know you best, ask for the advice, request the feedback, kind of learn more about that so you can just continue to develop that trust. Understand the other side of the problems. I'm always a big fan of that. I am still kind of getting new to working over here. And then S was the big one that I started with, which was start with yourself. Imposter thoughts don't suit you. Shake the self-doubt. And then try the new things. Say yes. That's kind of been my mantra for this year, is say yes, the opportunities, all of those things. So please, I'll give you guys some time to work on this and let us know. Start throwing those acrostic poems in there, or the phrases, or the ideas, or even if you kind of want to work on this a little bit later, just kind of throw in your thoughts on kind of how you feel the theme of trust is for this month. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I am always in awe and so impressed with just the creativity and vulnerability and intentional acknowledgement of how you feel about the theme reflected in the writing here. I love that some people had kind of trust in the middle with using the fun play on capitalizations. So they weren't, adding, you were able to kind of expand kind of your thoughts on it. I know that Kimberly added the trust myself, which was, I think, a great way to kind of reframe the theme so that it can speak a little bit more to you or kind of your particular journey that you need for that or what you need in order to start building that kind of relationship with the theme. And then just kind of the overall thoughts where it's like, I feel like you see the kind of intentional kind of hope and optimism around it. But then it is that very fine dance of maybe some of the darker sides of trust or almost to the point of trust being betrayed, losing trust. So I know it's going to certainly be a really delicate dance as we go through the rest of the month, but I am really excited to take this journey with the Sonder fam in May. And as Jennifer so put it well, is that if you aren't quite coming up with anything, that's okay. You can write this down and you have the rest of this week, you have the rest of the month to kind of come back to this. But it is certainly a good way to kind of put other ways or focus on how you feel about trust or that relationship you want to build with trust. So thank you everybody for sharing. So now we're going to move into the monthly planner portion of this. So we're going to start with our April reflections. And what I think is a really very powerful tool is the opportunity to put pen to paper, the ways to celebrate the wins, acknowledge the challenges, be able to kind of shout those favorite moments that you had from the previous month, and maybe things that you want to do to start, stop, or continue. Again, this is on page 8. And so with these April reflections, the wins are going to be something that you did, something that made you smile, something that made you happy. You can always go back through your phone and review pictures or your calendar, or if you have the previous month's journal, you can always go in and take the look of, the wins are essentially some of those roses. Challenges are going to be some of those thorns, but not only could these be kind of things that you did or things that you overcame at activities, these could also be some of the more squishier things, the maybe mental things that were wins and challenges, the emotional things, some of those things that you don't quite see but you can feel. And then obviously the favorite moments I think are really great. And then what's really nice is being able to take now some of those actionable items. Did you start doing something this month that you want to continue to do? Or is there something that has now come up as you embrace the previous theme of what you want to start doing? Is it a new routine? Is it adjusting your routine? Is it just getting ready for kind of the end of school or summer and kind of that transition as we do. Because I feel like with May, I always associate it with graduations, and that comes with a lot of feels, especially if you have some of those friends and family that are hitting those milestones. So maybe you need to restructure what starting looks like. Stopping is again, maybe some of those things that you could maybe do less or remove completely to maybe prevent maybe more of those challenges or the things that you're really proud of and that you want to continue as you build those routines. So here are a couple examples. We have the full page, but then we have a lot of those start and stop and continue ideas. And so what I really like about these is these could be, as structured or as random as you want. This is your way to kind of look back on the month in your perspective. I did like the doodles at the bottom with the things you want to start, which is the love, things you want to stop with that stop sign, things that you want to continue because again, the sunshine. And then the opportunity to, again, really shout out for the start, stop, and continue, but also kind of acknowledge the highs, the lows, and everything in between from the previous month. So I'm going to give you guys some time to work on this. Let us know. We want to celebrate those wins. We want to provide those support for the challenges. And we want to kind of start building some of those actionable items for the start, stop, and continue so that if you need to come up with the intentions, we can carry some of those over. So again, we're on page 8 in your journal, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. What is really nice about the reflection opportunity is you do get to see the good, the bad, and everything in between. But sometimes it certainly does get a little tricky to find some of those wins. Like I said, I started out April really strong. It was going really well, and then it's not ending on a great note. But to be fair, I have thrown my pity party. I've had my feels about it. And one of the wins is that I'm not going to carry it into May. As I said, I've already turned over all of my calendars. I did that a couple days ago. So we just are not going to acknowledge the last week of April. We're just going to get ready for something new, something different. So sometimes that's just the win, is that you get to start a new month. And that's where I always feel like it can be a relief thing, but it does take practice to get to that point. Because, like I said, I throw some pretty epic self pity parties. I will say they've gotten shorter, which is always a win. So I'm seeing progress, but I will always continue to have the pity parties. We just will make them, less bashes, less big bashes, and just more of like a small afternoon kind of tea party, pity party. So thank you everybody for sharing. Now we're going to look at those May intentions. So this is on page 9. And so this is going to be an opportunity to maybe carry some of those start, stop, and continue opportunities into the intentions. And the way it's structured is it's broken down into a couple different categories. But as always, you can ask yourself what you need this month. And if these categories don't work for you, you can change them. And just to start is there are a couple really good kind of overall themes for the month that we've shared here. It's Military Appreciation Month, Meditation Month. So these are ways that you can kind of lean into May outside of the theme of trust. And Jennifer and I both kind of commiserate on our sleep or lack of sleep routines, and so we felt a little called out with the better sleep month. So maybe I need to refocus that on some of my intentions to focus there. But also a way to do maybe national walking, as well as kind of overlay that trust theme. And so you can always use the trust theme to do your intentions. You can always focus it on a self love or a self talk, or in this case, kind of building that self trust or trusting in yourself. I am always a big fan of using a name of a song or a tune that inspires you. I usually tend to pick a band and then I'll use their songs for that because I'm always listening to music. It's always on repeat, it's always on some sort of like shuffle playlist. And so I like to kind of pick some of those songs that will pop up on playlists. So it'll kind of give me the mental reminder to go in and just check in on those intentions. Or it's more of, you can always ask yourself how you want to feel this month in that particular area. But you can always use stickers, colors, images, doodles, or you can also look at kind of that duality. Maybe one thing you want to let go and one thing you want to start doing. So here are a couple different examples. So for example, someone is going to be doing these things in these categories or letting go in those same categories. Same thing with maybe you want to do more of something, less of something. The stickers are always great. I love the duality of doing something for movement in each category. And again, the definition of movement is anything for those, not only like an action or an activity, but turning some of those kind of forward progressions. But then also on the flip side of movement is rest. So including some of those resting requirements, which if you joined us for play last month, one of the synonyms for play is actually relax. So relax and rest are incorporated into that. So that was something I continued to give myself reminders for. You can also use kind of play or in this particular theme, trust things. That was the example at the bottom. Or if you're not quite ready to commit to those intentions yet, you can put them on the sticky notes and transfer them later. It's certainly one of those we always want to break up with perfection. But sometimes you really want to actually kind of take a little bit more extra time just to figure out what those intentions are going to look like. We have another kind of a more or less approach. And then I like the idea of asking yourself or how you want to show up for yourself in these different categories. I think a great way to kind of embrace the theme is how can you so trust in yourself in these categories? And then, as always, as I said, if these categories aren't working for you or if it's not what you need this month, you can always repurpose them. So, the one on the left, instead of spiritual health, they're doing mental health. Instead of money management, it's home management. And instead of professional goals, it's learning goals. So, you have the ability to just kind of mark those out and whatever works for you. Or if maybe you only want to focus on a couple of these categories this month, you can do that as well. Maybe money management is not on the top of the list because hashtag taxes are done. So you don't need to worry about it a little bit later. Or maybe as you're coming, if you're a student or those type of things, as the kind of semester comes to an end, maybe you want to repurpose some of those learning goals, professional goals. Or again, you can focus on the here's what you want to start, here's what you want to stop, or it can absolutely be just a brain dump of the different things you want to focus on. And that can be kind of to do items. It could be the kind of squishy things that you want to think about and embrace. You have the opportunity to do any of those. And then again, sometimes it's also just the kind of coming up with a very broad thing that you want to do. So I liked the idea of reduce spending, and then you can carry the more specific action items into the weekly spread or the weekly habit activities, kind of burying into those intentions or your weekly to-do list or your weekly major 3 goals, because you can turn those into kind of step-by-step components as you go through the month. So let us know what intentions you're going to be focusing on this month. We certainly love if you're kind of asking yourself questions or if you're repurposing. We would love to see how you're going to approach this page this month in the chat, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved seeing how you were going to intentionally approach this month, seeing some repurposing of the categories, kind of seeing some of the duality, but also just why what's magical about these socials is just the conversation that occurs kind of outside of just the journal and outside the themes and outside of the prompts, because I feel like you really and truly find your people, find your accountability buddies, and not only being able to just see the growth that everyone is kind of going through, but also the epiphanies, the aha moments, the kind of deeper, things that you know are there, but you haven't quite put out into the universe yet. So I always think that's really what's magical about it. And then also being able to sit and kind of ask yourself what you need and how you can kind of reprioritize or at least set yourself up to give you some tools to prioritize. So thank you everybody for sharing. We are now going to move into the mood and habit trackers. And don't think that trackers is kind of a scary word. These again should be kind of tools that you can add to your tool belt for what you need. So if you need kind of that structure for it, or maybe it's not really what you need and you want to repurpose it, but we don't want these pages to be triggering, or kind of you feel like you got to find that delicate dance of kind of challenging yourself, not getting too comfortable, but at the same time, not, you know, opening yourself opportunities to kind of really beat yourself up about. So for the moods, you can choose kind of 2 to 3 negative feelings, 1 neutral, or 2 to 3 positive. You can always focus on trust for this month. You can obviously fill in every emotion that came up that day or fill in whatever emotion was the strongest. You can always use stickers, doodles, colored pencils, pens, or create the key, all of those things. But maybe if you don't really want to track just moods, we know a lot of our folks repurpose it with a daily affirmation. One of our facilitators, Bailey, uses it for anxiety, so she tracks her anxiety. Same thing if you're dealing with depression or any other sort of kind of mental health category, you can kind of track those levels, especially if you're working with professionals there. It also can be a great tool for energy levels, but you can also kind of intertwine all of these things to see how they're connected, because I think what is then becomes really amazing is how many things you can kind of correlate or track together just to kind of see if they interact or if it's just kind of a cause and effect or just kind of the innocent bystander situations. For me in particular, I found out that I would try to pick some of those moods that were, I call them, kind of really aggressive. So I was very much experiencing a very high and a very low. So I was picking kind of the very big frustrated or angry. And if something like that happened or it was triggered, I was able to like come back at the end of the day and really kind of marinate in my anger and frustration. So I was experiencing kind of this unnecessary roller coaster as I was tracking these things. So I went with things of more of, I was annoyed. I was a little bit bothered. Same thing with I was content or I was confident. And I found this kind of more happier median. So I wasn't doing all of the roller coaster. I was back at that even keel that I really wanted, because I feel like I was superficially inflating some of those emotions just because I was able to track it. So here again, the 6 different categories: anger, sadness, surprise, fear, love, and joy. Don't worry, I'll slide back through all of these. And here are a couple other examples. Someone is kind of tracking their panic attacks, and you can track kind of the intensity or maybe what triggered it. The one in the middle is all of the emotions that they felt that day. You can also kind of overlay as a book tracker. I know Jennifer O uses it for that reason. The one in the middle is kind of the emotions versus energy, to see if you have those type of things that actually interact. I know it's very obviously holiday themed, but I love the idea of, again, kind of a design. So you've built a string of lights of the emotions that you felt that day. Also, the fact that it's written out the days of the week. And then if you had kind of a physical response to those emotions. The one on the right is a yoga tracker, which you could also turn into some sort of exercise tracker or a step counter, any of those, or if you do kind of a relationship to those. And then we also have someone that was tracking foods, dairy, and kind of the effects that they potentially had from those. I liked the positivity tracker. How positive was your day on a scale of 0 to 5? And just because there are numbers here, you get to set your own scale. So you can always think of it in terms of that way. And same thing with the anxiety levels. It was the none, low, scattered, moderate, high, and panic with the little faces that went along with it. The one on the right was the energy level, and it was, again, you could pick a high or a low energy, but you could also break it down into the energy categories. Did you have physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, kind of all those different combinations? And same thing with, again, kind of overlaying a mood tracker with the mood and maybe some sort of external manifestation. And then, as I said, Jennifer has used it as a book tracker in the past. So hers is actually on the right. So let us know if you are tracking any particular mood or if you repurpose it. We want to hear that, and we'll see you in the chat, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved seeing not only the repurposing, but the overlaying of some of those different things that you can track. But I also saw that some folks don't change too much with this one. And I feel like this is one of those that actually for me doesn't change very much either. So this is certainly one of those things you can certainly keep it the same. I am a creature of habit, which is so my mood tracker and my habit tracker tends to look pretty much the same. And then as always, maybe you don't use all of these, or maybe you add them in as a little bit later. But the opportunity to just kind of figure out what you need and how you can kind of figure out what you need is kind of works in this, I think, fashion, especially if you have things that maybe relate or maybe don't relate, or things that you want to start and stop and continue, since you can control some things, but maybe not control some of the reactions of others. So you can always work on kind of that self trust, self relationship that way. So thank you everyone for sharing. We're going to move to the habit tracker. And so this is again a way to incorporate again some of those habits that you want to do every single day. Maybe trust is going to be your focus, but you can also pick a theme. Maybe these are habits that you're going to do to calm yourself, habits that you're going to embrace the theme, habits that are joyful, habits that are delightful, or you can always continue those habits from last month. You can find the balance, you can do some new ones, you can do some continuing ones, and also you don't have to fill in every line. Here are some kind of fun ideas that we always incorporate. But again, you have some of the really intricate mandalas that people will use to track and those type of things. I like the idea of maybe you have different habits that you do during the week and different habits for the weekend, but highlighting those because sometimes maybe your week and weekend look a little bit different, and maybe your time is not your own, or you want to be present on the weekend. And so it's a way to just kind of acknowledge that maybe those things are going to look a little bit different. Those days are going to look different. Again, I'm bringing in that holiday light string just because I think it looks so pretty. And then you can kind of incorporate some of these things. And obviously, if you have different things that change, so if you have things that are associated with work, and maybe you have days that you're not working, that can look a little bit different. Again, some more mandalas. But the one in the middle, I think, is really interesting because not only are they tracking kind of their habits, but they're also overlaying the moon phase, their work days, and then some of their flow days just to kind of incorporate. So the fact that you can kind of overlay kind of energy or anxiety or some of those things into how much you achieve on your habits, I think is a really good correlation. And then there are going to be times where you're going to be on vacation or you're not feeling well. The one on the bottom right is kind of that migraine of one of like, you just didn't do it because you needed to rest or something else came up. I am a big fan of, especially when I have visitors in town, I'm not going to track my habits. And I'm okay with that. And so that's kind of one of those things you just acknowledge. Same thing with it's like I'm going on vacation and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to have fun and I'm going to enjoy all those things, and it's going to be able to do it. And then I also love just kind of the aesthetic of the one on the left because it turns it into a whole scene. And I feel like kind of as you make it more colorful, it's a little bit more eye catching. And here are some other kind of spring ideas to incorporate there. So let us know, what habits are you working on? Are you one of those that has only got a couple going on, or you have ones that you kind of carry over from month to month? Because we always like to build these as kind of the things you want to do every day. And then when we get to the weekly side, those are where we add kind of the reality or how many times you're going to do those things. So we will see you soon.
Thank you everyone for sharing. Love the conversation about how to incorporate trust into these. I think that is certainly something to still kind of explore, but certainly kind of adding in the additional check-ins I think is really great. And believe it or not, that kind of takes us to the end. So I've appreciated all of the wonderful discussion that we've had in the chat, but I would love to continue the discussion in the app. So please share your pages with us if you want to. Obviously, we use them for great examples. And then here are those kind of QR codes, especially the feedback survey we love to see, as well as the YouTube link. Jennifer is including that there. She's also included the Eventbrite for upcoming socials. You'll actually see Jennifer and I tomorrow for the Monday morning weekly setup. We are super excited. I know you've seen some of the discussion about the Silk and Sonder stickers. So there are two different sticker packs. One is the monthly sticker subscription that can be added on. That is the tailored one to the theme, as well as with colors and content. So that one's specific. You can add them to your monthly order, or kind of do the full subscription. And then we have the sticker set, which is kind of the evergreen all-purpose sticker pack with over 2,000 stickers that you can use throughout the whole year. So it'll be kind of still Silk and Sonder themed, but not themed to the each individual journal or those things there. And then we just announced the Elevate Planner, which I think is really fantastic. It's bound, so it'll fit a little bit nicer on the bookshelf, but just another way to kind of expand. And it is a little bit different than the journal, but certainly go ahead and check that out. Here is a version of the playlist. Don't worry, I will include the Spotify link there, because as I was walking outside and that Moonlight Sonata to Dr. Dre song came on, and I am forever changed. I cannot unhear it. I stopped in my tracks because I couldn't believe it. But thank you everyone for joining us. We were so glad that you set up the month of May. So excited to
take the trust fall into May with each and every one of you. We look forward to seeing you at a future social. We're going to do great this month, and I hope to see you again. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Always pause when it rains, and there's only one way. Gotta switch up lanes, gotta shake up things, yeah. And your heart might break, cause the world's insane. See it on your face, trying to wipe that slate, trying to pull that ace, yeah. Let's go, jumping like an antelope. One dose, give me a little antidote. Maestro, tell me how the music go, yeah, how it go, yeah. Get on up! Shake the dust off, shake the rust off, get on up! We're going lights out for the touchdown. Say goodbye to your lows, ride them miles and don't let go. Get on up, yeah, get on up. Got a dog in the fight, and it don't play nice. Gotta grab that mic, gotta shine that light, yeah, song for the night, yeah. Let's go, jumping like an antelope. One dose, give me a little antidote. Maestro, tell me how the music go, yeah, how it go, yeah, get on up! Shake the dust off, shake the rust off, get on up! We're going lights out for the touchdown. Say goodbye to your lows, ride them miles and don't let go. Get on up! Yeah, get on up! Yeah, get on up! Shake the dust off, shake the rust off, get on up! We're going lights out for the touchdown. Say goodbye to your lows, ride them miles and don't let go. Get on up! Yeah, get on up! If it's getting heavy, baby, roll up all your problems. Take a shot and close it down, don't let that party stop.